Now, due to the consideration of time, I have to do it in sort of the FAQ format that I have set out in the book, so that you can try to learn as much as possible. Some of this may be tactical, some of it may be quite strategic in nature. So it's really up to each individual on how good you are already in such stuff. Now, firstly, as I mentioned earlier on, preparation is always key, be it salary negotiation, be it interview. A lot of people flunk at interview when they were asked the most common questions. Now, can I just have a quick understanding? You all have been in interview situation before, and I believe for many of us here, we've been through more than one. And we probably would be able to see for a lot of interview situation, there seems to be a common theme. There seems to be some common questions that regardless of where the interview is, when the interview is, I always get asked this same question. Weaknesses. So what are your weaknesses? Why should I hire you? So why should I hire you? Okay, why don't we just pick one more? Yes. I personally stopped asking this kind of question because I've read this book by Reid Hoffman. He's the co-founder of LinkedIn. Have you all heard of LinkedIn? LinkedIn is the most popular professional social media site in the world. And he mentioned something in chapter 1 or chapter 2, the way he operates his business and the way he actually operates himself as a person. He doesn't look at 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. Using software jargon, he sees himself in a constant prototype mode. It's always in a constant prototype mode or a beta mode. So you always got to improve and improve and improve. Improve based on what? Based on user feedback, based on environment change. If you have used some of the common social media platform like Facebook, you have remember Facebook version 1 versus Facebook currently. There's been so many changes. Some they just go and change, but most of the time it's because of customer feedback. So even until today, if you notice, Facebook still continue to change and evolve. So that is the mode that Hoffman was trying to tell every one of us. We should always be in that mode because the world keeps changing. You like it or not, the world keeps changing. The weather also change. From now until end of March, probably there's going to be no rain. So you can say, I hate changes, but there's just so many things beyond your control. The market change. You look at the price of stocks go up and down. There's a lot of things that will change. So the only thing that we can do is also to change ourselves. But still, just because I feel this kind of question should not be asked doesn't mean you won't be asked. So you still have to prepare yourself. Now, for those who have mentioned to me about these questions, maybe I could just also tap on your brain to understand a bit on how you handle them or how you handle them capably in your own assumption. So tell me more about yourself. Now, I'd like to understand, for those who have been asked this kind of question, do you really run through everything about yourself or just specific to the job? How many of you will say everything? Put up your hand. Okay, specific to the job, the rest of, okay. The rest not sure. Okay. Let me share with you something that you all have to always be mindful of. Just because the person sitting across your table is interviewing you, doesn't mean they are trained in interviewing. None, if not most of them, are not professional interviewer. Even some people in the HR department are not professional interviewer. They will not know what you don't know. So they will assume when they ask a question like this, you will know exactly what they mean. You will know the context of the question. So I'm going to share that with you. Pertaining to what you mentioned earlier on, if you were to ask them, what exactly do you want to know? Again, because some of these interviewer may not be professional enough, they may deem it in a negative way. So it's better to just take note that if they were to ask you questions relating about yourself, always remember it is about your professional self. Otherwise, why would they want to meet you? They don't want to meet you because, oh, we all share the same hobby, listening to music. Same music, what kind of music? R&B? I also R&B. It's not because of your hobby. It's not because of the school. It may be, but that's another story altogether. Most importantly, it's really about your professional life. Your professional life. Of course, whenever you're asked any question at all, always take the opportunity to slip in something good about yourself. Something which it may be pertaining to, you may want to say something which is more along the personal side of your life, but always link it back to why that aspect of your life is able to help you perform in your job better. For instance, if I am a captain of my basketball team, that will naturally imply that I may be a competitive person. I may have some form of leadership. So you can relate that over. Or in the course of your studies, I'm always the project group leader. So that's another thing for you to slip in as well. But it also depends on the context of time. So again, the different context may mean different things. If this is done over phone, you cannot be too long-winded. If it's done over panel interview, if it's done over lunch setting, again, all this will play a part. The casualness of your answer will play a part. So I won't touch into that in detail because we have not touched on the different kind of interviews yet. If you think about it, miscommunication may come into play. So you want to minimize that from happening. So whatever is being said, whatever is being mentioned, make sure at the premise of the phone interview, always have pen and paper to take down all this information. As mentioned earlier on, be in a quiet place, alone, turn off TV, radio, background music. I conducted a phone interview with a guy who was driving his car, and he insisted I continue. It was a bit distracting because you can hear the traffic, you can hear the air conditioning, you can even hear a light tone of music. He didn't bother to turn off the music, I do not know why. And he was shouting into his Bluetooth. So overall, the experience was a bit annoying, a bit off-putting, which could have been done at a better time. Probably because he's a salesperson, everything multitask. But for interview, again, you do not want to be on one of his many activities that he's juggling with right now. Now again, for phone interview, typically it will not last long. It's just a 20-30 minutes call. 30 minutes I would also deem to be too long. To gather some facts, to gather some missing information, to understand why probably you have you're leaving your current job or why you have left your previous job. So under such circumstances, the call will not be long, which also means to say every question will be important because the call is going to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes at most. They are not able to ask many questions. So if they're only able to squeeze in 5 questions, if you look at it from a point allocation system, let's say 5 questions equal 100 points. That means each question 20 points already. So if you fail 2 questions, you are at 60 mark. So every question is very crucial. Your answer to every question is very crucial. So whatever they tell you, don't don't just rattle off and say the same thing, the first thing that comes to your head. Always bear in mind your key objective. What is your objective during a phone interview? Your objective in a phone interview, there's only one, which is to proceed to the face-to-face interview. So don't say anything that will dim your chance. Okay. Do you all agree with this? Smile during a phone conversation will help. Okay, great. I started my career in a call center, and this is the first thing that was being told to us by our trainer, which we all think, nonsense. Which I want to smile. And they even make it a point to put mirror at every single one of our workstation, just to make sure that we are aware we are smiling. It does make a huge difference, really. Because when it comes to phone interview or any phone calls at all, a lot of things you cannot see. You cannot see how I animate myself with my hands. You cannot see my facial expression. There's only two things you can do. One, choose the words you're using carefully. Second is the tone of your voice. That's very important. So when you smile, it tends to bring up the pitch of your voice, and that's also always helpful. If you think about it, people with low tone of voice usually sounds very boring. And I'll have an example for you later on so you can see for yourself. This is a bit kiasu, but we do whatever it takes. After phone interview, send thank you note. Okay? During the phone interview, most likely you will be able to know who is talking to you, who's calling you. You may or may not have his or her email address, but one thing for sure, you know where the company is. Okay, with that you can send a thank you note already. Okay, if you have the email address, even better. Send the electronic one, faster, save money also. Okay, we mentioned about all the do's during a phone interview. So next part I'm going to share with you are all the don'ts. Smoke, eat. So far, I have not really seen any candidate who actually go to this extent. Having something in the mouth, I had that, but usually they would tell me, oh, sorry, now it's not the right time. So if you are having lunch, if you are having a snack, tea break, whatever, that is always not the best premise. And it may not sound annoying to you, but for the person who may be skipping his lunch so that he can talk to you over lunch, that's very annoying. When my stomach is grumbling, you're eating and talking to me, that's very annoying. Rambling, make sure your answers are direct and to the point and clear and concise. It can't be heard clearly over the phone. You have to check or you have to let them know again, repeat your answers in a more clearer and concise manner. So more importantly is really the premise of the conversation. If you know that, for instance, the corner of your house always poor reception, then don't walk over there lah. That's not going to be helpful for you. This is something that I usually also come across. I think in our fast-paced society, people tend to speak very quickly. So before I can even complete my sentence, they complete for me. Again, this can be slightly annoying because there may be more things that I want to ask. So always make sure that the questions has been completed before you move on to ponder through your deliberate answers and answer across to them. Providing too much information. Now remember, just like your resume, it is only supposed to be a flyer. Okay, it's supposed to be at most a content page, not the actual content. So you don't have to share everything across. Just like in the job description, most companies will always share with you the good things. We have 21 days annual leave, we have a huge pantry, we have company retreat every year. They will never tell you the bad stuff. Your boss will scold you every day. You have to do OT every night. Likewise, when you communicate across, you have to keep it short and concise and also on things that will attract them to meet up with you to have a further and longer discussion. Not just for phone interview, but if phone interview you do this, that's it, gone already, no chance. Never badmouth. I'm not sure why I have the phone issue there. Never badmouth about your previous employer. This typically will come into play because, again, remember why phone interview exists is to validate some information which would be missing. One of the key information that recruiters like us will always ask candidate will be reason for leaving. We always need that because if we don't submit that to our clients will come back and ask us. Then we still have to come back to ask you. So every time this kind of information are missing, we have to find out. And there have been candidates when they mentioned about, you see, we have to dig really deep. There have been candidates who try to tell us or who told us, my reason for leaving past 5 jobs, all because of career progression. That is not good enough for us. We can't put in career progression, career progression, career progression. That is too shallow. What do you mean by career progression? What do you mean? Because we've seen cases, I'm leaving this job because of career progression. Next job, temp job. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't gel. Um, because when we try to dig a bit deeper or management change, whatever, then when we try to ask a bit more, it may really be because I cannot stand my boss. You know? And then, start already. They will pour it out into you already. Oh, no, my boss, I cannot make it. I tell him, don't keep this kind of people, he don't listen. Push all the jobs to me, blah, 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 blah. Major turn off. So, no matter what happened, always remember phone interview, any form of interview situation, before you are being offered the job, before you start work on the first day, always maintain professionalism. How I would mention it, my manager and I has different professional opinion. That would be a nicer way of putting it. Different professional opinion. There's nothing wrong with asking you to do a certain job. There's a number of ways of doing it, but some people are micromanager. They insist, A must be on top, Z below. If I found Z on top, A below also can, right? Correct or not? So these are professional differences in professional opinion. So you also have to put it across intelligently. So again, when it comes to your resume, you have to bear in mind to have worked out all these answers. That you'll be drilled on why did you leave your previous job. Don't just think, career progression. Okay, safe. I move on already. No. If you gonna people like me, I'm going to drill deep. I'm going to ask you why and why and why until I get a satisfied answer. Because if I'm not satisfied, I won't dare to represent you. Because whoever we represent across, we want to make sure it's a one shot, one kill. That saves us a lot of time. So the informational interview usually arise during phone interview stage, or of course during a face-to-face interview stage when, and as the title here implies, is informational lah. So there's nothing, there's no big deal about this one. Basically, they ask you 1, 2, 3, you just say 1, 2, 3. It's all very informational based. And of course, we have the screening or telephone interview. It's a very cost-effective way for people to screen candidates. It can last from 10 to 30 minutes. And as mentioned, you have to be prepared with your resume on hand and the job description, and also some prepared answers to challenging questions about the company, if there might be anything. Remember, they can't see your body language, so always answer with energetic tone. Okay, individual interview, which is the most common one that we probably will go through. A one-to-one exchange at organization office. Usually 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. I have a friend who went through a 4-hour interview. He went there at night thinking that it's going to be 60 minutes. So he went on an empty stomach before dinner. So end up he has to take supper. So always have to be prepared for a situation like this. It's a good situation, it's a good problem if it drags on to become 2 hours, 3 hours. Because if they don't like you, they will want to chase you out the door. They won't want to sit across you, a complete stranger, and talk to you for 2, 3, 4 hours. So it's always a good sign. But just take note lah, if you have to be prepared for that because you cannot control that kind of situation. It's up to them to decide whether it will be 2, 3, 4 hours, not for you. So if you're going for an empty stomach, then good luck to you lah. Make sure your growling stomach don't interrupt your interview too much. Group interview, committee interview. This may be instances where they will require more than one person to vet through. In fact, this is highly valued in a very in an interview technique called top grading. Top grading is the technique done by this Dr. Bradford Smart. He's really smart. His last name is Smart. And it's an interview technique that, according to him, if you are well trained in it, you can assure 90% of your hires will be super performer. So one of the things that he emphasized a lot will be committee interview, at least 2%. So that when one asks question, the other one can observe body language. Because sometimes in the individual interview situation, it's very tough for the interviewer to multitask. Ask you one question, look at your body language, at the same time take down notes. It's very tough. So you have to be prepared for that situation. That kind of situation may be awkward for those who are in it for the first time, because who do I look to? Who do I look to? You will usually find out during a panel interview, it's always driven by the leader one. There will be one alpha male who will ask the most question. And usually he may even tell you, oh, I'll let the two of them ask question. Oh no, I want to ask you one, I want to ask you one. So, but as a courtesy, you still have to make sure you pay attention to every single one of them. So during a panel interview, you have to make sure you will still accord your eye contact to even those who are there just to decorate the room for no other purpose. For some of you, your first interview may be at the corporate office, correct? The second interview will be on site at the plant, at your actual office, at your manufacturing area in Tuas. So that is the second on-site office. So this one may take a bit longer. You may meet with a few more people that you may need to interact with in the course of your work, especially in a manufacturing kind of environment. You don't work in silos. You have to communicate with supply chain. You have to talk to procurement. So all these people may also come into picture to shake your hands, to assess you, to see whether I can work with this guy from now onwards or not. So that is what is going to happen. So you have to be alert, enthusiastic at all time, because they'll be observing every single part of you, your body language, etc. Now, some people, there's a few MDs that I know of. They are very particular, and I actually like the way they look at things. The first thing that they will ask, or the first person they will approach after the conclusion of an interview, will be the receptionist. How did the candidate treat you? It's very important, because they want to screen out candidates who will be absolutely downright rude to the receptionist, but become another person entirely during the interview. Yeah, nobody want to hire two-headed snake. So these are the kind of people that they try to weed out by going straight to the ground and checking with receptionists. So how did the person treat you just now? Courtesy or not? So these are the kind of things you have to bear in mind. And so I'm not telling you to fake it lah, but you really have to come from the bottom of your heart lah. So if you really don't like the receptionist, then I guess this may not be an office that you want to work there long term for. Now, behavioral based interview. This is also one of the things being mentioned by that Dr. Bradford Smart. Questions which you may feel doesn't really relate to the job, doesn't ask me about my skill set, but we're asking things on how you react to certain things, the people that you hang out with. Does it help me? These are really behavioral questions for companies to understand a bit more about yourself, because skill sets, honestly, is quite similar. If I'm hiring someone to become a logistic person, whatever you learn in your previous job, be it DHL, UPS, whatever, it's more or less the same. It's the same skill sets. You know what is, you know what will be all the required stuff. You know what is the code that you need to do when you fly stuff out of different countries. But how you react to certain thing. How do you react when your manager tell you last minute, do they need to OT when you already bought a pair of movie tickets? You know, this kind of stuff will be assessed out, will be sieved out through certain behavioral questions. So some of the behavioral questions, like I mentioned earlier on, will be things like, some of them may ask, who are the 5 people that you usually hang out with. Who are your 5 best friends? Describe them to me. So for those who may be new to this, it's like, you hiring me or you hire my best friend? So, but from a scientific standpoint, it's also been proven that you are the average of your 5 best friends. So meaning to say, if your 5 best friends are losers, you probably are going to be a loser as well. Which is also why there has been an article which became quite popular. The whole agenda of the article is to encourage you to dump your loser friend. Because whoever you hang out with, you're going to be the average of those 5%. So if you're going to hang out with successful people, millionaires every day, you are probably going to be in the same frame of mind as them. So these are the kind of questions that will be brought across to you when they try to find out certain behavioral aspect of an individual. Task-oriented, these are more common for technical required jobs. So if I want to hire for a Java programmer, I want to make sure he really know how to use Java. So that is where the test will come in. Lastly, stress interview. I'm not so sure if people still use this anymore. Some companies I heard they still does. So they'll tell you a lot of bad things about the job. Well, this job I tell you, every day you have to do 11. You sure you're okay? You sure? Confirm. So these are the kind of questions that they'll keep asking you until you reach the point of breaking down. The whole purpose is to not paint you a bed of roses, because in a lot of jobs it's really not a bed of roses. So you really have to be accustomed to it. Yes, you may be faking it. Yes, you may be answering it honestly. It's really up to the individual. I mean, in some jobs, many candidates approach it already knowing what are the stuff going on behind it. Example, if you're going to apply for a job as an auditor in Big Four and you expect to knock off every day at 6, dream on. It's never going to happen. You can only knock off at 6 when you're on annual leave. Even when you're on annual leave, you still have to work. So these are the kind of jobs that you have to approach with already knowledge of what's going on behind the scene. So these are usually okay. But for some other cases which is not so obvious, yes, these are situations where they'll keep stressing you. Last minute may have 10 orders to process. You sure you can or not? So it really depends on how hungry you are for the position, how much you really love this company. I mean, for most of us, I would reckon if Google were to come to you one day and say, I want to hire you to join Google, even ask you to work 16 hours a day, you will also do it. So if you take a step back, it's really how much you love the job. So dressing every single touch point that you have, every single touch point opportunity that you have, you will be framing yourself in a different context. And even before they shake your hands, they will be assessing you based on your dressing, based on how you carry yourself, based on how messy your hair is, based on the big earring that you wear on your ear. So all this will be very important. So you can see from here, for guys, typical recommendation is always try to overdress. As I shared before, why overdress? If you overdress and then you realize, hey, I'm interviewing at Facebook, everyone's so casual, you can take off your jacket, you can take off your tie, you can roll up your sleeve. But if you underdress, how are you going to magically create a tie out of thin air? You can never do that. So always overdress. You can always stuff it into your suitcase. It's okay. Your tie should always be a compliment, never distracting. Shoes, clean, proper. If there's any jewelry, hopefully there's none. Restrict at most to a wristwatch and a wedding band. That's for guys. For ladies, business suit, knee-length blouse, jewelry, bare minimum, and nails, minimize distraction. That means no strong color, no teddy bear manicure on your fingernails. I had a situation before where we recommended this HR business partner from a local bank for interview at this American nutrition brand. And this American nutrition brand is a very conservative company. So we were just thinking, okay, la, local bank should be quite safe. So we assume, it's our mistake, assume that the candidate will be able to carry herself. So she was there. From the minute they made face contact, that's it, gone already. Because she had the thickest makeup, she was wearing sky blue outfit with sky blue nail polish, very big earring, and very red lipstick. I'm not sure where she's going after that, but her outfit, her outlook did not impress at all. So the manager throughout the whole interview is just trying to go through the whole motion, and at the end of it told the HR, I don't think she fit into our culture based on her dress sense, because they are a very conservative company. A bit more to the slide. Fingernails, very important. I think we have already moved past the era where guys would like to have long fingernails on the thumb and the pinky. So it has never been in fashion. It will never be in fashion. And if your life depends on it, I would still suggest to trim it to as professional as possible. Shave. And of course, for ladies, keep your hair neat and tidy, makeup lightly applied. Now, I just want to touch on a few things that you have to also pay attention to, not to have. Don't use the whole bottle of perfume or cologne. It may be overbearing, especially for a small interview room. It is very obvious, it's very overpowering, and you become very distracting. For ladies, as mentioned earlier on, makeup, jewelry, miniskirt, don't do too revealing. It's again a distraction, and you want to sell your skill sets and your substance more than anything else. These are the top 10 common interview questions that we usually will come across. Most of it will be in the interview prep sheet. Our initial interview prep sheet was 4 pages, and then we realized people too lazy, don't use. So we condensed to 2 pages. So not every single question will be found here, but usually these are the common questions you're going to get in most scenarios. So tell me about yourself, as we learned earlier on. Why do you think you are suitable for this job? Why do you want to work at this company? What do they mean by that? Why do you want to work for this company? You should read it as, start praising my company. Why do you want to leave your current job? I can't give you a model answer on this. It will be a different situation. We had one guy in the audience mentioned earlier on about termination and all that. So it's just trying to paint it across in the most positive manner. So for, as mentioned earlier on, for such situation, you can mention about differences in professional opinion. So you left the company. What's your biggest strength, your biggest weakness? Where do you see yourself in X number of years? What are your salary expectations? Some interviewer may insist that you give them a budget first. So you have to play along on that note. But in such cases, you should the first thing you should always do is you have to understand really at that point in time a full scope of the job. Because if the job only require you to work 9 to 6, of course you put in one budget. But if the job really require you to work 9 to 9 or 9 to 10, of course you have to ask for a bit more. So you can commit to a budget if you want to, but you always have to put in a disclaimer. This is based on what I understand of the job as of now. So it may change as we move along and I understand a bit more about the role. If the role require me to be 100% in Singapore, okay lah, I quote this level. If I can only spend 10% of my time in Singapore and I can't see my kids, okay lah, I ask for this much. Tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult person. This is more of a behavioral questions. So you also have to start thinking about it in your course of your career. Uh, has anyone not worked with a difficult person before? Or will anyone admit that you are the difficult person? Every one of us will definitely would have worked with a difficult person before. Um, in fact, uh, a lot of times if you really think about it, it's always not the work itself, it's the people that you're surrounded by that sometimes may cause the most angst in what you're doing. Firstly, don't ever be the one to ask about salary. Don't ever ask about salary. Let them say this to you. So always take note. This may be a top pet peeve question for hirers. Um, so I want you to bring across the perception that you're so in love with the job that money is not an issue. Okay, so raising the subject of money during interview stage may give a wrong impression. Uh, as opposed to, oh, I want to work as part of the team. I'm going to give my heart and soul, and even my firstborn child to the corporation. So you want to bring that across. So salary is really the elephant in the room, that no one acknowledges during the interview phase. Don't worry, you will definitely get a chance to discuss about pay once you get the offer. But if you discuss about the pay before the offer, you may not even get an offer at all. All right? What kind of benefits? Similar to salary, if you were to ask, it may sound like you care less about the job, more about the perks. So if you don't love your career, it will really show lah. So if this isn't really the best thing that you have, but probably something that you have to settle for, you need to give across the best impression. So these are the kind of questions never to raise up. Again, let them raise it up. Next question. What are hours? What's the office hours here? Again, this kind of question make people cringe more than any others lah. Because most companies do not want a clock watcher. How many days of annual leave will I get? Same thing. This all these four questions again. We are just trying our best to minimize the kind of wrong interpretation by the interviewer. So anything which is in relation to you, you should never ask. The only thing that they want to find out more is about your passion for the job, and that is what you want to continue to frame across. Again, at the end of the day, before you sign off, you are going to get to know about all the benefits, about the office hours, about every single nut and bolts. So just don't try to raise the topic and don't try to rush it. Let them plan it out. Can I telecommute? Haven't started work already, don't want to go to work. So again, this may be some of the rewards or some privileges some companies may have, especially tech company. I know Cisco system that does a lot of that. In fact, I think there's a project manager in Cisco that only go to office once a month. So it depends on how they market that across. If it's something that they emphasize from the very beginning because of the way the company is structured, then of course they already raise it up with you, so you can always ask more. But if it's not being raised up, again, let them share with you at the offer stage. What kind of company is this? Now, if you have to ask this, it means you didn't have the initiative or incentive to prepare for your interview. Okay, this doesn't bode well for how you handle the job itself. So before you even send over your tailored resume to the company, you should know all about the company. So there's really no excuse for going into an interview unprepared and not being knowledgeable about the company. This is actually one main aspect that you can score a lot of impression points. if you can find out a lot more about the company, about their history, about the person you're speaking with, because he or she may have a LinkedIn profile, and because of going through the LinkedIn profile, you realize, hey, actually we came from the same polytechnic, we came from the same university. So that would help to create some commonality, some common topics among people, especially when they have something, a long period of time in common, like school, for instance. If you look at some of the alumni network of certain school, very strong one. They really help each other. And once you can profess that across, it's going to be very helpful for you. And it will also be helpful in a way that by knowing that you probably are not in the same alumni network, and somehow you know that, oh, actually my school and your school got rivalry one. Oh, then this kind of thing, you may want to keep it hush hush. For instance, I think it's quite common knowledge people from certain JC don't like people from certain JC. So until today, maybe like 20, 30 years, 40 years after they graduate from JC, they still harbor it because they've been institutionalized to think that way. So if you think that's going to make or break the interview, of course you try to minimize it. In fact, I had some interviewer who specifically tell us that they do not want to hire people from certain school because of all this baggage that they inherit. So you have to play it safe. You have to see from and understand from your side if there's anything, any information that may make or break your interview. Again, I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you to select your facts carefully. What happened to the last person at this job? Of course, you might be curious, but don't ask. It's not your business to know. And by asking, it may be interpreted as nosy. Okay. Again, we are unable to control how the person sitting across you will interpret the same set of information. You may just want to make sure you don't end up in the same fate as the other person and disappoint your future boss. But the guy on the other side may just think, wow, why so kaypoh? So you do not want to bring up anything which may have even a 1% chance of being interpreted wrongly. What do you like least about your employer? I understand this is a question that some uni students, graduates like to ask, interestingly. I think it's they're trying to use behavioral questions or some tricky questions in order to find out certain information. But again, if you were to ask it in a positive manner, what do you most like about this company? I think it's still a much easier sell. It's still a much more digestible question for the HR or whoever is interviewing you. But if you were to ask it on a more negative connotation, again, it may not gel well. Yes, you may heard the latest dirt about the company, but an interview is really not the place for you to bring up. And you do not want to be seen focusing on negative or want to be seen really being negative at all in any aspect of the interview. How much help will I get? Of course, you'll get help in your job. There'll be the orientation, there'll be induction, etc., etc. But again, there will be certain things which will be more appropriate to raise up at a later stage in time. During the first interview, probably it's not the best time because again, this may be interpreted as you can't do the job by yourself. So which is why you're asking this kind of question. It may be valid because in the course of your job, you do need to work with someone. You do need the kind of assistant, especially something new. But again, what we are trying to do here is not we don't want you to ask at all, but some of the questions can be deferred until the offer stage. The whole premise here, the whole objective here is to ensure and to control the situation where at the end of the day, you will get an offer. So when you get an offer, you have to realize their mind is more or less set, unless you piss them off. And I'll teach you how to piss them off, so you won't do it. Can I part-time? Do you do background check? So how would you feel if the interviewee were to ask you, do you do background check? And then look very worried. Who will you check with? What will you ask them? Again, it will give a lot of bad impression for the interviewer to think and then and the mind start to wonder, wow, this person killed someone before at his workplace, got things to hide. When is the baby due? The interviewer may have a full lunch, a very heavy lunch, not pregnant. So don't try to be smart and ask this kind of question. Hey, when is the baby due? I also have a 2-year-old. Oh, you're not pregnant. How you do U-turn? Can do U-turn or not? I don't know how you're going to do U-turn. No amount of negotiation can save you from that kind of situation. So don't ever say this kind of statement where you cannot do a U-turn. And asking the interviewer, so how did I do? The interviewer is there to assess you as an interviewer on behalf of the company. They are not a director. You are not an actor. It's not cut and then you go and ask the director, hey, so how? Can or not? That take okay or not? Cannot. Take two. Things doesn't work that way. So don't ever bring this up. Otherwise, you'll be giving the impression that whatever you've done earlier on, you are probably just faking it. Which is why you have to ask that kind of question. How did I do? Because it should be consistent throughout. Who you are from the day from the minute you step into the door, from the first handshake with the receptionist to saying goodbye again at the same door, you should be the same person throughout. Now, again, making reference to this prep sheet, the last thing is, of course, questions you have about the company. Always ask intelligent questions to show that you have really thought ahead of what you want to do. For instance, what kind of KPI do you set for the individual? Or questions like, what do you expect to see 3 to 6 months down the road to gauge this to be a successful hire? So you are implying across you want to be successful with the company, which is why you ask this question so that you can align yourself to the expectation of your future boss. And also questions like, so in event there's or rather for on performance issues, how would I be able to feedback across on improving certain things for the company? If I have ideas on how to improve efficiency, who should I speak with? So again, this is driving again and again impression to the interviewer that, wow, this guy have not start work, already think about the company 3 years, 1 year, 2 years later. So it's going to score a lot of impression points. However, don't go overboard and ask too sensitive questions. Like, I read in papers last month got lawsuit. So how is that going on? Last year you all didn't make a lot of money, right? I think net loss some more. So you all still have money to hire. These are sensitive questions which again nobody like to be reminded of. Yes, it's already in the papers. You don't have to bring that up. In fact, there had been it's quite a well-known fact that graduates from a specific university in Singapore tend to ask such tough question to the extent that some of them are being banned by employers. They do not even want to see this group of people anymore because of how they become overly outspoken in the market. So towards the end, do you have any question? Oh yeah, in last year financial loss, how you all turn around? Management fee too high, is it? You all have thought of reducing or not? So these are again at the end of the day, perhaps for them it's nothing wrong, and a lot of young people, one of the key things that they do lack, as a lot of us have seen throughout years, is the level of EQ. EQ extremely low. They can offend people and didn't know that they offended someone. So these are things that will happen, and the good things is the more fumble this group of young people make, the better it is for us. It helps us to stand out better because we are well trained, we are more conservative, we have a higher EQ level compared to perhaps the younger generation nowadays. So in asking questions, you always have to frame it across in a positive manner. You can see for all the questions that I encourage you to ask, there's always another meaning behind it. Why do you want to ask questions like, what would you deem to be someone successful 3-6 months down the road? On one hand, yes, you're trying to find out exactly that. How do you deem someone to be successful 3-6 months down the road? On the other hand, you're implying across to the interviewer or the company that I'm already thinking 3-6 months down the road because I want to be that person. Or what are the common traits of your successful employees in the company? Then you can align your core values along that as well. Because ultimately, it's also a situation, it's also an opportunity for you to understand more about the job. It may be core value that you're uncomfortable with. Have you all seen Wolf of Wall Street? Make a lot of money, but is that your core value? If you cannot align, you're going to torture yourself. So if you will tell you, oh, successful trait of our salespeople here, wow, dog eat dog, man. Step on people's toes. Just make sure you bring the deal. Ethics, what ethics? What's how to spell? You know, you have to align to your core value ultimately at the end of the day. Because a lot of people who leave their job is really not because of salary. It's sometimes not even because of the boss not good and all that. It's because of core value. The why things are done in a different manner. You may be a very rah-rah person and you were to work in, let's say, the corporate office of some company where there's no radio in the background, everyone just don't talk, type on the keyboard when they get a phone call, hello, okay, going for lunch. You know, I've seen offices like that, and I've also seen offices on the other spectrum where everyone is like, okay, come on, let's do it. Of course, mainly sales environment. So again, you have to align your own core value to this so that it make more sense for you. So once you are able to identify align with your core value, you don't have to fake it so much. You'll be the truth. Whatever you say actually comes straight from your heart. And when it comes straight from your heart, another good thing is you don't have to memorize so much. You know what they say? When you say one lie, you have to say another lie to cover up the first lie. I would like to touch on next, which is on the follow-up aspect. So follow-up aspect after interview, you have to make sure, first and foremost, you have discussed a follow-up date. Yes, then follow the instruction. You have to get clear instruction, what you expect. 1 week, 2 weeks, the hiring manager, decision maker going overseas, coming back next month, etc., etc. If no date is discussed, always send a thank you note within 24 hours. Okay, that will always leave a very good impression. And of course, something to emphasize, something to praise the interviewer about. Oh, I enjoyed the discussion you provided. I think you are extremely knowledgeable in your field, and I would love to be able to work closely with you, blah, 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 blah. Has it been more than 1 week? No. Then wait lah. If it's more than 1 week, then you probably want to follow up. Now, ultimately, you will want to end up with a call because by this time it's about 3 weeks over the deadline. So you want to you just want to conclude it so that you can just move on. Because a lot of times, because of the number of candidates the HR will be receiving, they may not be able to come back to every single candidate, or they probably could be able to maybe like 2-3 months later. In one of my temp job when it was many years ago, the company actually made an effort to send out rejection letter. In fact, I was the guy hired to issue out rejection letter. Yeah, but I can assure you it's not a common job lah, and it's not a happy job, and it's very tedious. It's very tedious. So you can imagine if 1,000 people apply, you can only hire one person. You got to churn out 999 mail merge letters to inform the candidate that you have been rejected or sorry, the position has been filled. So you can imagine it's not on the top priority lah for a lot of HR department as HR department continue to shrink. So that may pose to be an issue. So you have to take responsibility in keeping track of the timeline of your application. So within 3 weeks after the given deadline, things doesn't move, then okay lah, forget it lah, just take it as a closure lah. But don't ever go and tell them, thank you for not coming back to me. I waited so long already. I actually had that before. I actually had a SMS from a candidate who cheated us off for this. And in fact, during one of our reference check, he wasn't placed into a job eventually because the reference check didn't turn out to be well because apparently he has a temper issue. So which proved to be right lah. Because after that I also kinda scolded. So he indeed has a temper issue. So never do that because once you burn bridge, you burn bridge. Because 4 years later, the candidate came back to us for another application. I see his face, I know it's him. He's a bit thinner, he's a bit frail, but I know it's him. Why? Because I'm a very petty person. I can remember one. So, which is why, again, don't burn bridges. It's very crucial. Never ever burn bridges. Because if you meet someone like me, I will remember you for life. As usual, you always have to do your research. How to do your research? I'm going to share with you a few links. Okay, I hope you can see this. This first one is a page on JobStreet. Salary report and resources. Now this one you may need to Google salary report JobStreet because JobStreet recently has changed their website and there's no obvious link to this page right now. What it does is if you click into the link, you will be asked to put in a job title. All right. And when you search on the job title, the tool behind will actually bring up a sample list of people within JobStreet database that carry the same job title. And using their salary, which they have entered when they create their JobStreet account, they're going to give you a mean, they're going to give you the least, they're going to give you the max. So that will give you a rough indication of how much your position will be paid in the market. But as usual, none of these are 100%. Seriously. For companies that even engage the big boys, the Hay Group and all that for a $100,000 compensation guide, all these are never 100% accurate. So what do? I'm not asking you to spend $100,000, but we need to get from multiple sources and then derive the average. So at least that's a bit more accurate. So this is just one example. Another reference that you can take from. You can see from here, this is there's a website on Job Central, and on the right panel, there's a salary calculator, salary benchmarker. I think it should be the salary calculator. Yeah, I think benchmarker works the same as the JobStreet one. But for salary calculator, the interesting bit is the database which this tool is mapped from came from MOM, Ministry of Manpower. So I would reckon it's quite accurate lah. MOM won't lie. Right? So this is a good benchmark for you to look at. However, ministry often give you a bit of outdated report. Like I think for now, we probably is still tapping very much on 2012 data. Because they have to wait until a full year and then they commission the survey. So by the time you receive the information, it's already the next year. So again, you can use this as benchmark, as one of the benchmark, okay? And then derive an average. Glassdoor, this is more of an American company, so you have to dig up a bit and see whether any local company may have information here. Glassdoor is a website for anyone who is keen to register as a member and write reviews about company, especially on things like how is that interview process like, how much are they paying for specific roles, etc. So this is a great way for you to understand certain information. But again, you have to take note, if you can write a review, most likely the person working in the PR department of the company can also write a review. So whether it's 100% truth or not, it's up to you to make the judgment call. Which is you have to understand your own value. You have to understand your own value so that you can profess across what is the right salary level you can raise up to the interviewer. And importantly, again, you have to you let the company bring up the negotiation issue. You have to emphasize the benefit of your skill, translate that into dollar and cents, not just what you can do. Company only hire us to do two things. One, make money. Second, save money. So whatever you've done before, translate into those terms. A lot of businessmen especially, they will look at it from that angle. So you are proposing this, can make money or not? Cannot. Can save money or not? Cannot. Then I don't want. So always think from that note. Whatever you're doing, how do you translate into skills or transferable skills that can help a company save or help a company make money? If you are being lowballed, don't be dumbfounded, don't blink, take it cool, don't retort with unnecessary bridge burning statement. Just take it along, just smile, okay, I'll think about it, thank you very much. And then just kindly let them know, dear sir, I regret to inform you after serious consideration, I will not be able to take up this position because the various factors, blah, 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 blah. Of course, I leave it to you whether you want to leave a door open or not lah. If you want some room to U-turn. However, if there's any changes in the compensation plan, maybe I'll be interested. So it depends very much on how you phrase it across. You can also play the game of comparison. I actually have another offer on hand which I need to compare because both are equally challenging. But I really like your company. However, I need to think about it because I also need to balance with my personal needs and requirements. So I'll come back to you. So if you are really being valued, I can assure you, if once you reject them, they won't just say, okay, bye bye. They will tell you, so what will make you accept the offer or consider offer? Then you know the ball is in your court already. Maybe if you give me a car, a secretary, corner office, then I'll think about it. So you have to know when you can play this kind of game. When would you have the bargaining power? Ultimately, of course, be reasonable lah. Or how to be reasonable? You look at the benchmark lor. The benchmark, the comparison I shared with you, all this will be very important. Also be flexible. Whatever they can't make up in terms of salary, maybe they can make up in terms of benefits. 50 days annual leave, 100 days MC. All this may be substitute for what they cannot give on base salary, for instance. So you have to be flexible. And very quickly, some common salary negotiation mistake. As much as possible, I know sometimes some of them will force your hand, but as much as possible, try not to review what you consider as an acceptable salary. May be quite difficult, but you have to be prepared for it. Otherwise, you see, it'll be very difficult to negotiate for something higher once you have laid out your cards. If I know you have 3 king, I know 3 ace I will win you already, right? Correct. So try not to review your cards as much as possible. Focusing on need rather than value. Again, a big mistake. If it's all about me, and not the value you can bring across, then it's all about you. So one of the common mistakes that I also realize in a lot of people applying for jobs is, I want to join your company because I can learn so much. I hire you to teach you. I hire you so that you can help me do something, you can help me solve a problem. not hire you to give me more trouble so that I have to teach you. Of course, in a very blunt manner, definitely a company will also train you, but you it's not something you want to bring across. You want to bring across that you hire me, I help you solve problem. So that is the kind of value you want to bring across. Weak research or negotiation preparation. If you have not seen all those websites before you go for an interview, then how are you going to negotiate appropriately? You have no benchmark. You just hantam. You just grab a figure from the sky. Making a pitch too early. So again, try to delay this as much as possible to the very very last minute, so that everything has been covered. The nuts and bolts, everything has been covered. Don't accept a job offer too quickly. Okay, at the stage where they will call you and tell you, "I'd like to give you a job offer. Will you?" Oh yes, that's it. How are you going to go back? Actually, yesterday I said yes too fast. I think you can pay me $100 more. Oh, I tell you, that's it. We had a situation where this offer was made at for quite a high level position at about, I think was given 9,500 per month for quite a senior role. So we went with that. Company said okay, and then the candidate came back and tell us, actually, in view of all this, I think I will want 10. 10 I will move, 10 I will move. Okay lah, then we go back. And then came back after some some communication. Okay, the company okay with 10. Okay. The next day call us. I hear in the market, actually this company quite messy. This department I take over, a lot of nonsense. $500 more lah, $500 more. So it happened 2-3 times. Eventually, the hiring manager got pissed off. He said, no, forget it. We don't want this person. So it didn't go through. So when you start your negotiation, you got to plan your end game in mind. I know it's very seducing to keep asking for more, asking for more, asking for more. But you also have to bear in mind, this more can turn into nothing instantly. Because you'll be deemed, this person too greedy already. It's not here to work one. It's here to really make money, which of course is why all of us is working. But again, that's not what we want to paint across. We want to paint across, we love this job so much, but by the way, you'll be paying me for it. So don't put yourself in that situation, don't accept a job offer too quickly, and also have an end number in mind. And once it's reached, don't try your luck too often. If you keep pushing it, the other party may just push back and that's it. Or declining a job for offer too quickly. Okay, a lot of times there's always room for negotiation. Not just, if base salary cannot move, then it could be the benefits. So if it's the benefits, then of course, it may also take time for them to change certain things. So don't reject upfront. It may not sound sexy to you in the beginning, but don't reject upfront. Let them go through the process of go and think through how they can make it up to you in a different manner, or maybe even really give you the kind of thing that you want. But if you reject upfront, there's not going to be a part two, ma. They won't even help you think about it anymore. You just leave it as it is and just move on to the next person. As I mentioned earlier on, asking for too many changes in the counter offer. And taking negotiation too personal. Again, remember, it's all business. It's all business. At the end of the day, the HR just want to save money. It's not an insult to your capability. It's not an insult to your value. They also have their KPI to attain. So don't take it too personally and just slam the table. Wow, you think I what? Beggar, give me this kind of salary. Don't ever take it too personally. Again, don't burn bridge lah. Because every market is very small. People will talk. People will share with each other all these unique events in their life, at their work. So you do not want to be on the list of their topic. Not asking for final offer in writing. There have been cases where companies did U-turn or promise one thing and then said, did I say that? And things just become very nasty. So whenever you have something given to you, always request that it's put in writing. Of course, you don't put in writing and bring it across. Oh, I want to make sure you don't show pattern later on. You don't say this kind of stuff. Oh, can I put it in writing just in case I may have taken the wrong information, or I don't so I don't misinterpret the information wrongly. So once you have it, there's no way they can do a U-turn. If they were to do a U-turn, hey, but I remember you sent me this email. I show you. This email saying that you're going to pay me this. Then that at least give you a better position to bargain for what was being communicated.